faint. I'm so excited.
What is the NBA? What are the San Antonio Spurs getting with Victor Wembanyama?
Really happy, and I really can't wait to meet the fans and to meet hopefully the team I'm about to join.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's happening. We're finally not making a video on the Philadelphia 76ers. I can't believe it. We went 4 days in a row talking about that team because of all the craziness that went down there. Because the San Antonio Spurs won the #1 overall pick in the NBA draft, and, well, I owe you guys an obligatory Victor Wembanyama video. Because you might be wondering, how are the San Antonio Spurs going to go about this? Was the NBA draft lottery rigged? And how are they going to develop Victor Wembanyama into one of the greatest, if not the greatest basketball player that we have ever seen? So before we get to the content, we're currently at 97.9 thousand subscribers. When that number gets to 100,000 subscribers, we're going to be giving away $1,000 to 5 subscribers that turn on my notifications on this channel. Now that we get all that out of the way, cue the intro. Can I be honest for a second? The one thing that changed sports for me forever is Prize Picks. Just having a little extra action on the game has made watching games so much more enjoyable, and I've actually been using this to get into other sports as well. A lot of you have DM'd me the amount of money that you guys are making off of Prize Picks, and I post my picks onto my Instagram story every single day. And right now, if you use my promo code microphone, they'll match your first deposit up to $100. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? I wanted to thank everyone that tuned into our NBA draft lottery. That was so much fun. This marks the 4th year since I've officially returned to YouTube after taking a huge break to pursue dentistry. So I wanted to take a moment to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart for your support. But in that draft lottery, we saw a lot of things that were quite telling. The most egregious one being how much Adrian Wojnarowski was glucking Victor Wembanyama on national television. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen such hype like this before. I mean, watch what Woj says about Wemby here.
This is the most highly anticipated player to ever enter the NBA. Maybe not only the greatest prospect in the NBA's history, maybe the greatest prospect in the history of team sports.
Wow. I feel so bad for Woj because it feels like they're holding a gun to his head and saying,
hey, say good stuff about Wemby.
And it's not that I have anything against Victor Wembanyama because he's truly one of the greatest prospects that we've ever seen, but the last time I've seen a prospect hyped up this much, it was quite literally LeBron James. I mean, I know a lot of us are getting annoyed about the LeBron James Victor Wembanyama parallels because it seems like every couple of years the NBA tries to say the next LeBron James is coming to the NBA, whether it's LeBron James or Anthony Davis or Zion Williamson or Victor Wembanyama, as is their job, by the way. There's a lot of parallels between the way they've been attempting to hype up Victor Wembanyama in comparison to LeBron James. I mean, they nationally televised both of their games before they showed up to the NBA. They called LeBron James the chosen one before he stepped foot onto an NBA hardwood floor. And I think unlike LeBron James, Victor Wembanyama is most likely going to go to the perfect spot for him. I mean, there's a reason this was his reaction during the NBA draft lottery.
Goes to the Houston Rockets.
When I was watching the NBA draft lottery, I was creating scenarios in my head. I mean, if he goes to the Houston Rockets, that's kind of going to be a show. I mean, you have 2 ISO heavy ball dominant guards in Jalen Green and Kevin Porter Jr. You have Jabari Smith, who's a more than capable big man over there. It's really going to be difficult for Victor Wembanyama to develop on a team that already has a bunch of young players trying to develop, even though he would be the best one with the highest ceiling out of all of them. In the case of the Charlotte Hornets, it would be really entertaining to see Victor Wembanyama and LaMelo Ball on the same team, but that would kind of take away from LaMelo Ball's hype as well, and it could potentially hurt LaMelo Ball's development as well. For the Detroit Pistons, I honestly think that they're very close to actually starting to make some noise. I would have liked to see a Cade Cunningham pairing with Victor Wembanyama. And for the Portland Trail Blazers, I think that would have probably been the worst spot for him because historically we've seen that whenever a rookie gets thrust into a situation where he needs to begin competing almost immediately, it does tend to hurt his development. And I think the best example of that is none other than DeAndre Ayton. So in this particular particular case, Victor Wembanyama is going to the best possible location for him, a team that is notorious for lucking out and always getting the opportunity to select transcendent big men, and also a team that he might stay with for the rest of his career. If history is any indication, and unless if he has like a Kawhi Leonard-like personality, Victor Wembanyama said it himself.
Special relation between France and the Spurs because of Tony, of course, and also Boris. And I know half of the country, maybe if not the whole country, wanted the Spurs to have the first pick.
This all makes a very cute story. I mean, of course, Boris Diaw and Tony Parker played for the San Antonio Spurs, so Victor Wembanyama's from France. Clearly, it makes sense for him to go to San Antonio, but it seems like the Spurs were quite literally preparing for Victor Wembanyama to arrive to their team. I mean, let's put aside the fact that they conveniently started to build a massive $510 million practice facility, which is expected to be one of the top athletic centers in all of professional sports. It'll be 504,000 square feet with 1,700 full-time employees, and it'll also be used for community gatherings and events. If you take a look at the mock-ups of this facility, it's absolutely beautiful. It's almost as if they knew their time was coming in about 2 years from now. I'm not gonna play the NBA draft lottery was rigged game, but the fact that Victor Wembanyama is going to the team that could probably develop him the best, who has a history with French stars, who also conveniently has a practice facility, I don't know, I think it's quite the coincidence. But that aside, let's talk about the brilliance of what the San Antonio Spurs did. I mean, they quite literally traded the face of their franchise last offseason to the Atlanta Hawks and received Danilo Gallinari, a 2023 first round pick, a 2025 first round pick, a 2026 pick swap, and a 2027 first round pick. At the time, I was like, okay, the Atlanta Hawks are going all in and the Spurs are trying to tank for Wemby. And I even said in that video that if the Spurs get Wemby, then this is an A+ for them. I mean, even if they didn't get Victor Wembanyama, this would be an A+ for them, considering the fact that DeJounte Murray's contract expires after next season. I mean, wow. I think this is very similar to the package that the Brooklyn Nets gave up for James Harden, and it might yield a similar result. I mean, you gave up all these assets for James Harden, and then you ended up trading him to the Philadelphia 76ers for Ben Simmons anyways. And in this particular case, you give up all these assets for DeJounte Murray, you trade those assets for DeJounte Murray, and DeJounte Murray might leave you anyway. There is actually a scenario where DeJounte Murray could leave after the 2023 to 2024 season and return to the Spurs if he really wanted to. But on top of that, the San Antonio Spurs have tremendous role players to surround Victor Wembanyama around. I mean, Zach Collins has been a stud and has been playing the best basketball of his career out of any team that he's played for with Greg Popovich and the Spurs. Jeremy Sochan is relatively raw, but he's very long and possesses tremendous defensive potential. And he's also just 20 years old. It's his birthday in the day. Keldon Johnson had the best season of his career this past season, averaging 22 points per game and shooting 33% from three. And the same could be said for Devin Vassell, who's averaged 18.5 points per game while shooting a scorching 39% from three while attempting 7 3-pointers per game. So the San Antonio Spurs have draft picks, young assets, and are in a scenario where they could focus solely on the development of Victor Wembanyama. And right when they believe he's ready, they could package those assets alongside maybe Devin Vassell and Jeremy Sochan and Keldon Johnson if they decide to go this route and try to acquire a star to put next to Victor Wembanyama. But maybe they don't want to go that route. Maybe they want to develop all these young players together. It does look like a very promising core, and maybe they want to target a free agent in either 2025 that is looking very, very promising, by the way, with players like Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Anthony Davis, Brandon Ingram, Jamal Murray, and Lonzo Ball hitting free agency. But maybe they don't want to target a free agent in 2025 and they opt to do it in 2026, where Giannis Antetokounmpo, Jason Tatum, Donovan Mitchell, De'Aaron Fox, and Jalen Brunson would all be free agents. The scary part about the Spurs is that they're not necessarily backed into a corner about a decision that they have to make. You could develop your young talent and pursue a free agent, or you could sit down and try to surround your existing core with promising role players based upon where the Atlanta Hawks draft picks fall in. Or you could package your existing talent with those draft picks and get a star. Or you could stand pat and pursue free agents during very promising free agency classes as Victor Wembanyama is developing. There are multiple avenues that the San Antonio Spurs could take in order to be one of the most dominant teams in the West once again, and I think that's what makes them scary. You never want to be the team that is banking on free agency in order to be successful. You want to be a team that has assets, has cap space, and has young players that are developing on very, very good contracts, all at the same time. And that's what the San Antonio Spurs have. And that's why they're going to be the most terrifying team in the NBA, and it's the perfect spot for Victor Wembanyama. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about all this. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.